Pedro was reaching for an apple when the uninvited guest appeared. It was climbing over the bananas in the fruit bowl. "Awesome," he said softly. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Mom, you've got to see this." When Pedro's mother saw his new friend, her face turned white. She told him to stay away from it and walked into the yard shaking her head. Quickly, Pedro grabbed an old marmalade jar, imprisoned the spider, and covered the top with a plastic film filled with holes. "Beautiful," he said, looking inside and observing it closely. Its brown body was large and flat. It had 8 long hairy legs with black spots on them. It also had 8 eyes, which seemed to stare back at him. In no time, Pedro's mom came back. She was heavily armed with a broom in one hand and a fly swatter in the other. "Okay, where is it?" she asked aggressively. "Wait, Mom, please," Pedro pleaded. "I want to find out which species it is first. Then we can decide what to do." Biting her lip, she stood in silence staring at Pedro's new friend. "Okay, but do it quickly," she said as if she would change her mind at any moment. Pedro set to work at once. First he Googled banana spiders. And then he asked his mom where she got the bananas. She said that they were from Fairways, a supermarket that sold fair trade produce. Pedro was curious. "What's fair trade, Mom?" "Well, it's all about giving the people who produce the things you buy, in this case, our bananas, a fair price for their work." "But that's obvious, isn't it, Mom?" said Pedro, sounding surprised. His mom explained that sometimes only a bit of the money we pay for something goes to the person who produced it. And that this especially happens when the producers are in poorer countries. "Okay then, Fairways fair trade bananas," he said under his breath as he typed the words into the search engine. "Wow, they came all the way from somewhere in Ghana," he exclaimed. He also found out that the bananas were from a small family plantation and traveled all the way to Spain in refrigerated ships before being sold in the supermarkets. As he continued to scan the website, photographs of a very dangerous stowaway popped up. "Oh no," said Pedro in horror. "The brown recluse." He showed his mom the picture, and she began to read the description aloud. "The brown recluse is a shy spider and lives in the darkest and smallest places. If you touch it, it will bite and inject you with poison that could make you very sick or even kill you." "What?" She ran and got her cell phone, called the supermarket, and explained the situation. When she hung up, she told Pedro that the supermarket was sending over a specialist in pest control. The more Pedro read, the more worried he became. "Mom, it says that if they find any spiders on ships that carry bananas, they have to shut them down, collect the spiders, and then have them identified. And while they are doing that, the bananas just have to sit there and often spoil." "Really? That's terrible," his mom exclaimed in disbelief. Just then the doorbell rang. It was the pest control specialist. Pedro was disappointed when he saw him. He had imagined someone dressed in blue plastic from head to toe, but this man was just in scruffy overalls. "Are you putting us in quarantine?" Pedro asked hopefully. "No, no one is going into quarantine," he answered laughing and asked where the little guest was. Pedro excitedly showed him his new friend. "Ah," said the expert, examining it closely. "Looks like a huntsman, sometimes called the banana spider." "A huntsman," echoed Pedro. "It isn't the deadly brown recluse then?" he asked, sounding disappointed. The specialist explained that many people falsely identified the huntsman as the brown recluse. He pushed the container closer to Pedro's face. "See here. There are no markings like the shape of a violin on its body, are there? And it has bigs, doesn't it?" "Don't worry, it's completely." Pedro's mom was a little worried, but the specialist reassured her that this species of spider was no danger to humans. In fact, he pointed out, people in tropical countries even welcomed it into their homes because it ate domestic pests like cockroaches. "Can we keep it?" Pedro asked. Said the specialist. "Look at the sack of eggs on this banana. Of course, you'll have to keep them in a heated tank. They hate the cold." That's why she isn't moving very quickly. Pedro begged his mom. She turned to the expert seeking his approval. He smiled and nodded. Okay, but you have to take care of them, she insisted. Promise, said Pedro, delighted with his new friends.